TCT presents Public Report, a look at the issues and events of importance to our viewing area. Now, here's your host.
Hello, welcome to TCT Public Report. It's great for you guys to join us today. I'm your host today for Public Report, and I am with my lovely co-host and wife, Crystal.
Yes, I'm excited about today.
I am too, and I'm so glad we could do this today. We have a very, very special guest. Her name is Michelle Degree McKenney, and she is part of Third Degree Solutions, and we have the honor to just chat with her today, so we're so glad you've joined us.
Yes, Michelle, tell us the backstory on Third Degree Solutions.
Okay, so Third Degree Solutions came about because I was in corporate America, and we were experiencing some time where we were interviewing a lot of students coming out of college. They look really great on paper. They know their skills. They know everything. The catch was they were missing the soft skills. Okay. And what I mean by the soft skills, I'm talking about the presentation skills, communication skills, leadership skills, as well as just forming with the teams. Mm-hmm. And so we couldn't figure out why is it that they don't have that skill set, because coming in, we can teach you the business part. The hard part is the soft skills, taking the time to do that. Yes. So we started looking at other schools and seeing if it was the same thing, and found it's across the board, not just for predominantly white colleges or HBCUs, across the board. Right. So I started teaching some classes over at North Carolina Central, working with the students, and realized that we have an issue now with the millennials coming out because they're all texting, they're all in technology, but they're not spending that time communicating with each other. Wow. And in corporate, we're not just on technology all day. We still need and I don't want to say old school, but you still have to talk to people, you still have to be relatable, and you still have to form relationships.
Wow, you know, you don't even think of that because we're so busy saying, put your phone down and not, we don't realize the impact that has on, especially with people going into the workforce. Yes. So what made you start to look into that? What happened?
Because we couldn't figure it out.
Wow.
We couldn't figure it out. I mean, we have great students coming out of college. Over here at NC State, we have all these people coming out in the technology field, and they're failing when it comes to consulting and selling. They can sell online, but they can't sell in person. So it's just interesting to see. The other part of that is we thought it was just coming out of college. Right. And every year I participate in Wake County with Wake County ninth graders to do power networking. So for me, I thought it was just in the ninth grade, do power networking because we're all looking for that summer job or job for Christmas. Yes. And what we are realizing that we had to start at a younger age. When we were growing up, your parents would say, go outside and play until the lights come on, the light posts and everything, right? Yes. So while you're playing, you're actually forming skills that help you along the way. Wow. So it's not just the classroom skills, it's how do you get along? How do you get along if you drop my bike and now the wheel is bent? How do you work through those issues? Wow. Because that's developing a skill set.
Yes, like conflict resolution. I never thought of it that way. That's amazing.
Exactly. Wow. So, but if you're inside playing computer games all day long by yourself, I don't know how to interact with other people. I don't know how to feel like maybe they're not trying to hurt me. They're not bullying me. They're just giving me constructive feedback.
Right.
And so it's seen as, oh my God, this person is offending me.
Like foreign.
Right, exactly, because they've never been exposed to it.
Wow.
So we started doing this, and now we're not doing just colleges, we're doing it in high schools and everything. So talking to youth groups all across the place, because one thing I would tell parents, get your youth involved. Get your youth involved. Now the flip side of that is, that's how Third Degree started. But we also do corporations because continuous learning. We always got to brush up on our leadership skills. Yes. And people talk about it all the time. Well, I'm already a leader because I'm a manager. Leadership is not about the role, right? It's about that person, that individual, and how they influence. If you look at, and I hate to say it, sports, because the way sports is getting a bad name right now with football and stuff, but the players pretty much run the team as far as the leadership. They might not be the #1 player, but according to their leadership and how people respect them, they guide that team. Wow. When we're growing up, we always say, make sure you know the janitor in the school. Make sure you know the custodian, because that's who's going to take care of you, and that's what leaders do.
Wow.
They follow the grain. So it's about the influence that you have and the impact. So.
And that's amazing. And when you were talking about, the youth or, on the phone, even adults are doing the same thing too.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes you go to restaurants as well, and everybody's just on
They're
their
all on the
phones.
phone.
And I remember talking with you before, and you were talking about you had spent time at someone's home, and the parents were having a hard time communicating with the children. And
Right.
what did you do?
So I actually was coaching a group of kids as far as being more assertive. And when I got to their home where they were hosting the event, they had upstairs, downstairs, and the mom was like, "Oh, I'll get him now." And so she sat there and she sent him a text. And I was like, "Wow, are you sending a text to your kid upstairs?"
Wow.
And she was like, "Oh, if I call his name, he won't come, he won't listen." So that's the problem.
Right.
Stop texting your kids. Stop making the excuses. We've made so many excuses. Well, if I do this, they're not going to do that. I think that we have to get back to the old days. And my mom used to say it all the time. I'm the parent, and you're the child. I don't want us to forget our roles.
Right.
And I'm going to set the tone of how things are going to happen in our house today.
Yes.
And I'd be like, "Oh my God, I should do this.
Yes,
She's
yes.
so mean."
Yes,
But
yes.
at the end of the day, it helps down the road.
Yes.
So when we started doing this assertiveness with this student and doing presentation skills, he would listen to me, and I would say, "Look me in my face. My face is up here, not down here." And
Right.
he did not realize that when he talked, he was always looking down, and he'd say, because he's used to looking
No.
down
Right. And he
because
wasn't
of
told.
the cell phones.
Yes.
Wow.
Nobody ever corrected that.
Right.
So I started recording him, even with presentations. Just stand there.
Yes.
Just stand and tell me something as simple as your name, your age, and what school do you go to? Well, at first it started off, he's like, "Hi, my name is John," and I go, and I'm like, "So my face is here, stand back up and do it again."
Right.
So, "Hi, my name is John," but now John is dancing all over. Just stand still. Just and that took every bit about 35 minutes to actually get a good take, a good cut, and then I played it for him.
Okay.
And he was like, "I never realized I did that."
And he was amazed at the results.
He was
when saw
amazed
himself.
because
Wow.
they don't
Wow.
see it. They don't see it. They don't realize it because it's the norm.
Yes.
And I kept saying, "So you're trying out for the swim team," because the whole thing came about. He's trying out for the swim team. He wants to be on student council. His parents were smart, though. They recognized that he has an issue. He can't
Yes.
stand in front of people and talk.
Right.
So they started doing it now
No
to
kidding.
prepare him. We did that all summer long.
Wow.
Another thing about the whole social media, I joked before and said, "I'm stomping out social media. My kids can't talk to me on social media. You can't interact with me on social media. We can only have cell phones at a certain time in our house, because other than that, you're going to learn how to communicate."
Yes.
You're going to learn how to communicate.
Now with this, it was a young man, you said, that was doing it. When his parents, did his parents make him do it, or how did that come about?
So they saw a workshop that we created, and they heard about it.
Okay.
So they wanted to meet and talk about what was going on with their child, and they were saying that he's in middle school, he's getting prepared for high school. There are things he wants to accomplish, but we don't see him doing well in it.
Right.
So for them to take the initiative and want to work with their son,
Right.
to me it was, at least you recognize it, but also, you can pay me and I can come and and then we'll see the benefits. But I also need to work with you to help you do the same thing.
Right.
So, because if I leave and you don't continue that process, what good is it?
Right.
What good is it?
Wow, that is powerful.
It is, and it becomes a whole family then, sort of project and
They're
stuff.
all
Yes.
doing it.
So he it seems like he was a very ambitious person.
Yes.
So
yes.
he really needed that. So now where are we at now with him now? Where's he at?
So the interesting thing is his parents own a business in Cary.
Okay.
And they just assumed that their son would always take it over. Well, it's a sales business.
Okay.
So if he's already having this issue and they notice it, they're
Yes.
trying to push it out.
Right.
So now he is a change champion at a high school in Cary, where
Okay.
he's actually talking to his friends and making arrangements, because the kids don't talk anymore.
Wow.
They walk through the hall, they'll send a text to each other.
Yes.
They don't communicate. So he's trying to get people to stop, let's talk in the hallways. When I was growing up, we were all over the hallways talking.
Yes,
They don't have
absolutely.
to worry about that. The hallways are quiet now in high school. Just take some time. It's interesting.
kidding.
They're texting.
Wow.
They're texting.
Wow.
And that's the generation that we're raising, because what are we going to do?
Yes.
You can't text your whole life.
Right.
You can't. And if the network went down, everybody's going to feel like, oh my God, we're going to die because we don't know how to entertain ourselves.
Right, very true,
Yes.
very true.
So, I don't know. But those simple things, because I remember even in churches, they used to have the little kids come up for Easter and say your scripture for Easter Sunday.
Right.
Yes.
And something that simple, just putting your child in front of a crowd so
Yes.
that they won't shrink later on.
Right, yeah, memorizing Psalm 23.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm still kind of scared when I did that when I was a kid. I still feel that today. But well, that's so. What made you want to start this?
Because you know what, I am a product of my mother had me at 16.
Okay.
And I had several mothers growing up, right?
Okay.
And the cliche that it takes a whole village to raise a family, I feel like now we don't have that village. We have silos and pockets.
Wow.
So I decided that, you know what, I want to be one of those pockets that help push that as much as I can. I might not be able to touch everybody, but the people that I can touch, they'll get the benefit and hopefully they'll share that information. So
Wow.
that was the whole process.
That's great. That's
Thought.
great. So who is Michelle Degree McKenney?
Oh, wow. So if you would have asked me 3 months ago, I would have gave you one answer. But now my answer is, first of all, she's a woman of faith. That's always been there. Two, I have a serving heart at this point in my life. I actually decided to do this, again, to help corporate America. And then I realized it's not even about corporate. This is across the board and just helping people in general. And when I originally started, I said, I only speak to corporations because that's who I am.
I see.
Wow.
And this summer I realized that's not who I am. And that's not who God created me to be. I actually speak at women's groups.
Yes.
I spoke at the She Treat this weekend.
Yes.
And I didn't want to tell people my story, right?
Okay.
Because behind corporate Michelle, there is a Michelle.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
have a story, and I started telling that story and sharing that story. And the more I share the story, God started opening up other doors and different things to share. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Like, let's not share that part, let's give this part.
Right.
But being obedient, I had to start sharing it. And I realized I'm not changing people's lives, I'm planting seeds. So somebody told me before, Michelle, you're just simply seeds. And I didn't understand what that meant. And I'm an acronym girl, so I had to figure out what does simply seeds mean. So I
Right.
realized this: sowing, encouraging, empowering, and demonstrating service. So I want to be able to motivate women and tell them now is the time. You can do anything. I'm 49. I'm still recreating myself every day. When I met
Wow.
Crystal, changed my whole life
Wow.
and made me reinvent again.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think that sometimes we get caught up on the age thing and say, this is it until I die. Well, that's not true.
Yes,
I'm going to
yes.
always be changing, always evolving,
Right.
and I'm taking everybody that wants to go with me.
Wow,
Nice.
that is
So-
great.
And how long ago did Third Degree Solutions start?
So in 2009, joking around with your wife,
Okay.
it was coming, except the idea that I had for it was not what it was supposed to be.
Okay.
So I sort of put it on the shelf for a while and came back to it again and said, okay, so we're going to do consulting. So the name originally was Third Degree Consulting.
Okay.
Because we did do project management and IT consulting.
Right.
And still do, except now we're giving you the whole solution. We can teach you IT skills, we can run your projects, we can do all of that.
Right.
But if you don't have the people skills,
Yes.
it means nothing.
Wow.
So now I'm giving you the full solution where I want to make sure you have the people skills. You can teach anybody IT and computers.
Right.
Obviously, everybody's getting it, right?
Yes.
But I can't get you to the soft skills if you're not ready.
Right.
And that's something you have to be ready for, and you have to want, and you have to desire. If you don't, the IT part, you're not going to make it.
Right.
Because eventually you're going to have to show up.
Right. And I think, how do you feel that you've changed? I guess I look at you and I think, wow, she's beautiful. There's a certain charisma to her. How many young girls have you seen kind of look at you and you've changed their lives just for the better?
Oh my goodness. I work with a lot of youth programs in Raleigh. I have Sissy, which is for their Small Pearls program. I do a lot with the Y. I'm involved in Athena of the Triangle, which is a women's organization, and several others. And the thing is, you're right. They see me and they create this idea and image of me.
Right.
But once they get to know me and hear my story, and especially the little girls, they're like, what? You used to do that? Yes.
Wow.
That's who I am, and I was just like you until somebody said, you're not going to be like that anymore.
Wow.
Or let me show you. The thing of it is my mom had me in a place where people wanted to expose me to different things.
Okay.
If you're not exposed to something,
Right.
all you know is what you see every day.
Right.
It's about the exposure. It's about telling them you can do better, especially with our young girls. We'll get our little boys and we'll say AAU, football, basketball, everything. We're putting them in things. And our
Right.
little girls will say, you're going to stay at home. You're going to watch TV. So we have a generation where people were raised by the television. And
Yes.
then you turn around and say, sit up and act like a little lady. And I had a little girl to tell me, what does a little lady look like?
Wow. Wow.
What does that look like?
Yes.
What does it look like?
And I've never thought about that way, that we have all these sort of little niches we can put men, young boys and men into. But for women, I've never
What are we
looked into
doing?
Right.
Yes, yes.
So what
We're
are we
not.
doing? Okay. So
We're not.
What's the solution then?
So to me, the solution is for your young girls, there are programs out there. They're not sports related.
Okay.
It's more of, like I said, the Pearls program, the YMCA. It's getting you exposed to other careers and other environments.
Right.
And that's what creates that little lady that we remember, our
Yes,
mothers and
yes.
grandmothers. They had exposure to those things, and they wanted to look that part. And so those girls, it's not about looking the part, it's about modeling that woman.
Wow.
Model who you see. So if I'm only seeing video girls, and don't get me wrong, if that's what you want to do, but do it tastefully. Do it tastefully.
Right.
If you want to be this power networking woman, be it, but they have to see it. We talk about, wow, they don't have that problem in DC, Chicago, or Philly. Why do we have it in Raleigh? Because we're not creating those events for our girls to come out and get exposure to it.
Wow.
And then I challenge parents, you have to take some of that responsibility and switch up your life and be inconvenienced for a while for your daughter.
Right.
Yes.
Do you find that's a big problem with parents wanting to commit to their
I
children?
think sometimes we don't want to be inconvenienced. We'll be inconvenienced for a football and basketball game because I like it and I can
Yes.
see other people and socialize.
Right.
But be inconvenienced a little bit for your daughter to teach her how to take care of herself, how to pamper herself. What does it mean to be a little like, why are they passing out these? I had somebody to say, what are these little tablecloths they keep giving all the ladies at church? Or when ladies sit down at the stairs.
Yes.
It's a reason for that.
Yes.
They don't know because nobody's taking the time to explain. We watch it and we just make the assumption
Okay.
that everybody knows.
Yes.
So I feel like now we have to take the time. We came through with the time where our parents were like, do this, and this is the reason why. Our kids came behind us and we felt like they just know. Be
Right.
glad that we're not struggling. Be glad. And then
Yes,
our
yes,
kids
yes.
are like, oh, so you're supposed to give this to me. Oh,
Right.
this is the way it's supposed
Right,
to work.
right.
And now
Yes.
they're adults having kids and it's like, did you teach your daughter that? And they're
Yes.
like,
Yes.
oh, well, I thought at school they're going to. No, school is not for that type of thing. We need you to take care of the personal skills.
Definitely,
So-
definitely.
That's really good.
Now, when you were growing up, what did you have some mentors or people that you looked up to?
Oh, so for me, it was this lady at our church. Her name was Iola Dillingham.
Okay.
And
Say the name again.
Iola
All right.
Dillingham. And she was the lead singer in the choir.
Okay.
But besides being the lead singer of the choir, she was also a very dainty lady. And I used to say, I want to be like that. And dainty for me at that time was when she walked in the room, I don't care how we were acting crazy, everybody would want to sit up because she walked in.
Wow.
And it was because she had expectations of us. And we didn't realize that. All she did was expect us to do right. And if we didn't, she made sure that she let everybody know. And I think throughout my life, because my mom made sure I was with people, she always said, have a mentor. Have a mentor. Make sure that you always are striving to be better. And we talked about that on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because you're growing,
Yeah.
you need to move that mentor each time.
Wow.
I met a lady in Cary. She said, I switch mentors every 6 months. And I was like, wow. She said, because every time I surpass them. Because I'm
Wow.
trying to be like them. And now
That's
I need
really
to
good.
move to the next person. And
That's
that's a
good.
goal.
I
That's
love
a goal.
that.
Even
Right.
as a grown up, we
Yes.
all need to have somebody.
That's very
Yes.
interesting. I remember many, many conversations you talk about, and you come off as very elegant
Yes.
and so forth. And I remember some of your mentors that you
Yes.
said your aunt was that way.
Yes, my
How,
Aunt
how does
Barbara.
that sort of fit into
Yes,
that?
it's the same thing. When I was little, I was spent a lot of time with my aunt, and I just saw how she just did things, and she, I just followed her, and we pick up off of that.
Exactly.
So if the little girls don't have the women around there, and also explain to them about this or that, and not just saying, just do this and because you're supposed to do it.
Right,
Those
right.
type of things. But I had an aunt that was very, very dainty, very classy, and I believe that is definitely a part of my mother too as well. But my aunt was very dainty, wore makeup and the
Exactly.
stilettos and all those things. And
Funny.
look at me now.
My mom is like that. The highlight for me was my mom always polished her nails.
Wow.
Okay.
So the thing for me is I always want to polish my nails because my mother always had beautiful hands.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember that. And she was the go-getter. She made things. She used to say, I'm not going to let life happen. I'm going to make life happen.
Wow.
And now I find myself doing that because
Yes,
that's the
yes,
way
yes.
it's supposed to be. So
Wow.
it starts at an early age. And I
Yes.
don't think people realize the effect you have on your kids by what you're doing.
Absolutely,
So,
because it seems like, I know from being a parent, our children come into the world and they're asking us all these questions, and really we are a lot of times selfish, and we're saying, stop asking questions and stuff
Exactly.
like that. So when they become a young teenager,
And then you're
they don't
expecting
s-
them to do things. You're like, why
Yeah.
aren't you doing this?
and then,
Right.
and then they're not saying anything, they're not
Yes.
asking why anymore. And I think we've grown into a culture where we're kind of afraid to ask why, because we don't want them to think we're stupid.
right,
You know,
exactly.
so it's kind of like a catch-22. But what I loved about when you mentioned about changing a person, especially with the first story you told us about the gentleman that wants to do all these ambitious things, by going into third-degree solutions, they're going to have an upper
hands up.
Yes,
That's
where they'll
awesome.
be able not just to get the job, but to actually become anything they can do. They can do
Right.
that because we need to have people skills.
Right.
I mean, and it's
And that's why
scary.
the networking is so powerful. Do
Yes.
you realize if I would have started networking at 15,
Wow.
what I'd be like now at
Right.
49?
Yes. Yes.
And the relationships and the people that I would have met that could have exposed me to certain things and in a positive way,
Right.
and would have understood that and said, hey, you know what, I'm from Shelby, North Carolina. I don't know anything about computers,
Right.
but guess what, this person does. I'm from Shelby, I've never traveled the world. Well, guess what, this person's taking me over to Latin America. This
Wow.
person's taking me to Europe.
Right.
The goal for me was to make it to, you ready for this? Shaw University.
Oh, wow.
Shaw University, because in church, that's all we ever heard about, this big place called
Right,
Shaw
right,
University.
right.
And the goal in life was to get to Shaw.
Okay.
I mean, granted, I went to UNCG, but I still wanted to come to Raleigh to see Shaw and take a
Yes.
picture to say, I arrived.
Right.
Because that was the goal, right?
Right.
Yes.
And I laugh now because my pastor that put that in my head about Shaw University, he said, so now what? And I was like, but I did it, right? And he was like, so now what?
Right.
What's the new goal?
Yes.
Where are you going now?
Right.
And now I look back on that, that was him stretching me and
Right.
him growing me. And I think because we don't have the expectations on our youth, it's like,
Yes.
you go to college, and after college, then what?
Right.
Everybody stops after that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to keep saying, now that you're coming into your senior year and you're graduating in May, I hope you have a job.
Yes.
I hope you're already looking for the job.
Right.
Yes.
Because you can't wait till you graduate. I want you to look now, the same
Right.
way we look for the college your senior year, look for the job.
Right.
Because if you wait till May, everybody else is graduating with you, and you're all going to be out there in this numbers game.
Wow.
My kid isn't going to do that. They're going to be doing it now, and when they graduate, they're going to be saying, and this is where I'm going.
Right.
I'm taking a week or 2 weeks off, but this is where I'm going to be employed.
Wow.
Oh, that is
So-
amazing.
So what's next for third degree solution? What do we got on the horizon here?
So we're growing, right?
Okay.
And I know people say I'm foolish. I feel like I still want to focus on corporate, but I'm not letting go of the colleges, and I'm not letting go of the high schoolers. And I have friends that I have been coaching through this process that I'm going to be able to hand this off, because I feel like the more I share and the more I grow, God's got me on the other side. So I'm
Right.
not worried about that. But I want to see a movement. I want to see where we're actually taking this time now for our youth and going back to the basics.
Right.
Because I'm all about going back to the basics, whether it's stumping out cell phones with my attack I had that day. I'm getting rid of all cell phones. Nobody better call me on the cell phone. You want to talk to me, you set up something so I can come and visit you. Your kids can't talk to me. Do not text me.
Right.
We are all going to sit down and say, I'm going to meet you at X spot. If you're not there, you better get there in the next 5 or 10 minutes, not call and saying I'm running a little late. I want you physically available for me. And I think that's what we have to do. We need to be physically available and have these conversations.
Right.
And if we don't have these conversations, we cannot ask down the road and say, what is wrong with our youth?
Right.
Why can't they communicate?
Right.
Why do we have all these pop-ups and these startups? And don't get me wrong, I'm all about that. But you can't continue to start up in the entrepreneurship if you can't communicate and partner with people.
Absolutely.
It's all about, we are created to form relationships and to help each other.
Yes.
And the enemy has made it really cool that, no, you don't. Work over here in this little space by yourself.
Wow.
Get ahead of the other man. And that's not true.
Wow. Now, do you find it's harder? Now, you said on a corporate level, do you have people who've been in their positions for a long time?
Oh.
So which is easier, the person that hasn't been exposed or the person that has been overexposed?
So I think of it like this. When you have a cup, the kids are empty. It's what everybody's pouring in, right?
Right.
When I get to the adults, it's filled. I have to shake it up and make them think different and say, hey, let's look at this. Because they've already decided this has worked for me for 20 years.
Right.
And I got this management role, what's next? So you have to give them a different way, a different angle of looking at it. Because let's just be honest, we have millennials in the workforce now, Generation X, baby boomers. How do you mix that in together? You got to be creative right now.
Right.
You can't still do the same old thing.
Awesome.
So as leadership for companies, you have to change the way you're communicating, the way you're networking, and the way you're forming those teams.
Wow.
And my company wants to be that one to help you through that process.
Wow, and that's very, very powerful.
And where can people contact you?
They can reach me on my website, Third Degree Solutions, and that's THIRD, not the number 3.
Okay.
I'm on all social media outlets, as well as they can connect to me by phone, 919-271-8351. And we're available to talk and have those conversations.
That's great.
That's brilliant. And that's, and you call it soft skills. That's the first time I've heard of that.
Soft skills.
Soft skills. And we've missed that. And I love the analogy you made of when we were kids, conflict resolution. I love it. So it's great. So what you're doing is fantastic. You're not only bringing up kids that are going to have a real advantage in life, but also us old folks here to get back and hone our skill, because it's never too late to learn.
Exactly.
Stuff, so.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on this program
Thank
today.
you.
It was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you so much.
To be here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time on TCT Public Report. Take care.
This has been Public Report. Public Report discusses the issues of interest and importance to our viewing area. Please remember that the views expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of TCT or the station.
God bless you, friends. It's Pastor Sherman Blandon here, pastor of the Mount Moriah Community Church in Wilton, North Carolina. I want to take this time to encourage you to activate your faith. Yeah, activate your faith. And remember Peter. Remember when Peter walked out on the water, he stepped out in a place that others did not think he could step out on, all because he activated his faith. Listen, when the master calls you, that's your key. That's your opportunity to go into a place that others have never been into. If you've ever had a time in your life where you've been afraid, you've been scared, you've been in a place of apprehension, remember Peter. And remember that it may not always be easy, because he did go under the water. But the good thing I love about that text is Jesus was still on top of the water, which means whatever's over your head is still under the master's feet. And as long as you've got God on your side, everything will be all right. God bless you.